Hello and welcome to the Shift Asia in-depth series of Malaysian International Food and Beverage Trade Fair, MIFB 2024, the podcast where we dive deep into the heart of sustainable food and beverage innovations across Asia. My name is Frida Liu, and as we build up to the Malaysian International Food and Beverage Trade Fair happening in Kuala Lumpur from July 17 to 19, each episode will shine a light on the pioneers who are reshaping the industry. So whether you're a business owner, a food enthusiast, or simply curious about the future of food, join us as we uncover the tastes of tomorrow today. Today, we're going to discuss the dynamic landscape of sustainability within Asia's restaurant scene. As the region grapples with rapid urbanization and economic growth, its food service industry faces unique sustainability challenges and opportunities. We'll discuss with the Growth and Partnership Director of Sustainable Restaurant Association, Finnerty, the current state of sustainable dining in Asia, including the various practices restaurants are adopting to minimize their environmental footprint. Hi, Karen, all the way from Hong Kong.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me today. Very excited to chat all things sustainable dining in Asia.
First of all, I was just surprised that there's this association, the Sustainable Restaurant Association. Maybe you can share a little bit about the genesis behind this association.
Absolutely, happy to. So the Sustainable Restaurant Association has been around for quite a long time now. We were founded in 2009, originally in the UK, by a group of like-minded F&B and hospitality people. The organisation was originally founded due to uncertainty in the F&B sector in the UK around legislation that was coming in and changes that needed to happen in the hospitality sector, but the infrastructure wasn't necessarily there yet. So the association was launched to help F&B people understand the nuances around sustainable dining and how we need to create a more circular economy. Since then, we have had quite a rapid growth around the world. We have active restaurants who have completed the Food Made Good standard, which is our global hospitality accreditation, to train hospitality and F&B businesses in more sustainable practices. So currently, there are restaurants in 26 countries around the world who have completed the Food Made Good standard. And we have partnerships in actually 75 countries around the world. So our presence is definitely known in a lot of different countries. However, in Asia, we have been present here for about 5 years now. Our main areas where we have, I suppose, concentration of restaurants are Hong Kong, which is where I'm based, Taiwan, which we have about 250 restaurants in Taiwan who are a part of our network. And also Japan. We have a partner in Japan who brings restaurants through the Food Made Good standard. We also, I suppose that's not to say that we're not working with restaurants anywhere else in Asia. We're starting a partnership in Singapore, and we also have some partners in Thailand right now.
Right.
So very much happening.
Okay, so slowly inching your way into Malaysia. We talk about there is just the Food Made Good standard, right? And what is the framework around that?
So the framework around the accreditation is derived from the Global Sustainable Development Goals. And so everything that we have created in the framework is to answer those global sustainability goals for businesses and countries. The framework is broken down into 3 sections. So businesses that take part in the Food Made Good standard can do this themselves. It's an online do-it-yourself sort of accreditation. We do offer support to businesses if they need it, additionally. So there's 10 impact areas. The first area, the overarching theme, is around sourcing. In the sourcing elements, we look at celebrating provenance. We look at how businesses are supporting farmers and fishers. We look at what is the understanding of more plants and better meat. We also look at how businesses can source sustainably their seafood and anything from farms. The second section delves into society and how businesses are treating people that they work with. So we look at treating staff fairly. we look at feeding people well, and we look at how businesses are supporting the community through their sustainable initiatives. And then the last overarching section looks at the environment.
Right.
And the 3 impact areas in there are around reducing in footprint, wasting no food, and reducing, reusing, and recycling.
Right. Okay. Now, when you look at Asia, right, so diverse and with cultural, economic, and regulatory factors, what are some of the challenges and roadblocks you've seen out here in Asia?
I think one of the biggest challenges that we see, especially in cities like Singapore and Hong Kong, for example, who, from a legislation perspective, are leading the way when it comes to more sustainable society, for the hospitality sector as well. Singapore and Hong Kong have recently brought in some very stringent legislation around, roadmaps for hospitality businesses, specifically to get them to a more sustainable place by 2025 or 2030. And so what we see as quite a big challenge is around local sourcing. In big cities like Hong Kong and Singapore, just as an example, there is no space for the farming that is needed to be able to sustain the populations here.
Right.
So definitely local sourcing is quite a challenge.
Right.
We do see that even in other bigger countries where perhaps the produce isn't as high quality as restaurants want, and maybe they're importing from Europe or they're importing from Australia. So we look at, when that is a challenge, we look at trying to educate businesses on tapping into whatever is available locally.
Right.
It doesn't have to be all produce.
Right.
But we do try and encourage businesses to have some sort of knowledge of what is available locally. Whether that is smaller garnishes, whether that is eggs, whether that is dairy to a certain extent, and trying to encourage them to work with whatever local sources that they can. So that is definitely one of the big challenges that we see here.
Right.
I think another quite common challenge in Asia is the use of plastic. And again, I feel as though in comparison to the EU, perhaps, and to the UK, legislation in Asia is slower to catch up on this. And just this year, last month in April, on Earth Day, the 22nd of April, the Hong Kong government put in place the first ever ban on single-use plastics for the hospitality industry. So quite a monumental piece of legislation, but it's really starting to filter down now into all type of F&B eateries, whether that's a fine dining restaurant or a Chat Chan Tang, a local eatery. And everyone is having to really stand up and take notice of this now. But I suppose it's that lack of information, lack of understanding around the use of plastic and how it can be reduced or reused.
Right.
Or recycled in businesses.
Right. And how do you think, as a restaurant, right, how do you think being part of the standard helps the business? How does the association support the restaurants? And the reason I'm asking that as well is sometimes I say, oh no, not another standard. We're trying, how you're going to get some skeptics, right? So how then being part of this will help them with their business?
Absolutely. And I think, in a time of, we're seeing more and more consumers now care about where their food is coming from. So businesses are taking notice of this and how they are proving their value and their values as a business is often through accreditations and certifications. So absolutely, there are quite a few of them out there. However, how the Food Made Good standard completely differs from everything else on the market is that we are the only holistic accreditation for the hospitality industry.
Right.
What does that mean? We focus purely 100% on food,
right,
and on food supply chains. And that is our 100% focus. So there is no other accreditation available in the world today that offers that to businesses. A lot of the other accreditations, they will look at the entire building. So they'll look at, often it's focusing on hotels as well. They'll look at how energy is used across buildings, in the rooms. They'll look at practices in across rooms, but food is a very, very small fragment of all of these other accreditations. And so I suppose that can, first of all, the difference. We differ with a lot of the other global certifications. I heard you ask as well, how do we support businesses, and how can we help businesses through this accreditation? And what the Food Made Good standard provides is education on the top 10 impact areas for their business. The whole process is a learning process, and we don't want to showcase how badly people are doing, if they're not doing as well as they want to be. If there is a section, for example, reduce your footprint in our accreditation, and maybe if a business can only answer positively about 5 of those questions, we will give opportunities for improvement for the other 5. We will provide templates for policies that they can create to better enhance their sustainable practices. We will give a full report after the accreditation, which is a roadmap for the next 2 years. Our accreditation is completed once every 2 years. And so the roadmap that we give and the full detailed report will go into very, very detailed analysis about each of the 10 impact areas and how businesses can improve and how we can help them improve along the way. I suppose another way that we help is we offer strategies for decreasing carbon footprints, which I think is obviously very important for businesses that maybe need to report from an ESG perspective and bigger groups. And really, we want to help businesses in the long run decrease their costs and help them to save down the line by bringing in more circular operations for their businesses.
And I think what's really good, like you said, you give them a roadmap, right? So, I mean, okay, now we know, at least I know what I need to do, what the next steps are, what I need to do. First, I need to be educated and then be made aware of areas to improve, but given steps and where to improve. I know you share some stories and maybe this is something that you can answer me as well. Local sourcing, waste reduction, and energy reduction solutions. And one of the partners that you've got, which is very interesting, was Eurostar, right? And I'm like, that's solving a lot of things. So if we talk about the Eurostar being all over Europe, but a little bit about that story, if you can share with us.
Sure. So we've worked with the Eurostar, and I suppose for people that don't know, they're obviously a European rail line that goes from the UK to Europe. So we started working with them probably about 10 years ago now, and they were the first of their kind to accredit as a Food Made Good accredited business.
Right.
And they work with us in a very similar way to how we work with caterers. So we work with a lot of obviously standalone restaurants and restaurant groups, but then catering groups can obviously have quite a big impact as well, and a huge F&B supply chain. So they first attempted in 2013 their first go at the Food Made Good accreditation, and they have worked on it every 2 years since then. The first time they completed the accreditation, they received 1 star. Another thing to mention about the Food Made Good accreditation is that it is a star-based result. Right. So you can get ranging from 1 star, 2 star to 3 star. 3 star is the highest amount of stars that businesses can get. So over the last 10 years, Eurostar have worked with us to increase their star rating every single year.
Right.
And I believe in maybe it was the start of this decade, or the start of the 2020. I believe they're currently sitting on a 3-star rating. And so they have really improved their operations to create a more sustainable, circular operation on the Eurostar.
Right. I think this is a great, when you look at something on that scale, right? Now, in the list of Asia's 50 best restaurants, the Sustainable Restaurant Award for 2024 went to Haoma, Bangkok. Right. And the crux of any good restaurant is still the food. So do their sustainable practices make an impact on a customer's patronage decisions, do you feel?
So I think I kind of touched on it earlier on. What we're seeing from research and also from our global network is, since I suppose COVID times and I suppose the kind of how we have evolved as consumers after that. We are noticing a huge shift in consumer sentiment towards how businesses are actually operating at the core. Consumers more than ever care about where they're dining, where they're investing, not only with F&B businesses, but across all spectrums of the consumer and the consumer sphere. But especially for hospitality, we are seeing a more conscious consumer than ever before.
Right.
And people are very concerned with what they are consuming, where it's from, what has been the lifespan of that product, and how has it gotten to the position in front of them. And I think it's a biggest shift that we've ever seen as an organization. So I think restaurants are taking notice of this. And restaurants are talking about getting third-party certificated because they want to be able to prove that what they're doing is good, that they're trying their absolute best to be better for the planet, be better for their consumers, and create a more climate-friendly world for all of their customers. So I think we're really, really, really seeing this. I think with Kioma, they are the perfect example of this. In a really, really busy city with, not much space in the direct proximity of the restaurant.
Right.
They have managed to create a fully sustainable operation where they grow their own ingredients in a vertical farm. And whenever they can't grow vertically in the farm on the grounds of the restaurant, they have created local partnerships to be able to gather all of their ingredients. So everything is completely sourced with Thai ingredients. So they're a great example of how they're doing better and still creating absolutely amazing dishes and experience for the consumer.
Before I let you go, Karen, what other trends are you seeing in Asia when it comes to F&B standards? And it could be around sustainability or not.
Yeah. I think for me, I do see a big focus on sustainable seafood. Obviously in Asia, there's an extremely high seafood consumption level in comparison to other parts of the world. So I think building knowledge on this, restaurants are really, really trying hard to do this, and they're doing this by partnering with organizations like WWF and like MSC to be able to certify their seafood, and also by taking a lot of seafood off their menus that is on the endangered list. So really seeing a lot of that happening. And another really great trend we're seeing is investing in sustainable water. A big, water and kind of water scarcity are really big topics that, we have to take note of. So we're seeing a lot of restaurants and hotel groups around Asia. One in particular is Jaya House Hotel in Cambodia.
Right.
In Siem Reap. They're really pushing for hoteliers in the region to come together and have a campaign for hotels to go zero plastic or zero single-use plastic by 2025.
Right.
And really we're asking them to reduce plastic bottled water and look at more sustainable water options. So I think those are kind of the big things I'm seeing around Asia as trends right now in 2024.
Right. Thanks for spending time with us, Karen. And you've been watching the Shift Asia in-depth series with MIFB 2024. It's a pleasure to bring today's story of innovation and impact in the F&B sector. And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Join us at the Malaysian International Food and Beverage Trade Fair this July to see these sustainable practices in action and discover how you can be part of this exciting industry transformation.